In this video, I want to share with you 3 reasons why we should be peacemakers and then give you 4 practical ways to actually be peacemakers here in a politically divided country. Watch to the end because I'm going to share with you a very powerful Bible verse that totally applies to the political climate we're in. Why should we be peacemakers? Here's 3 reasons. Number 1, we are in a politically divided country. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. And it's not lopsided. Like, we are an equally divided country right now. Abraham Lincoln said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." He was actually quoting Jesus. In Mark chapter 3, verse 25, Jesus said, "If a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand." So imagine 2 brothers fighting, and while they're fighting, they're distracted, and the real enemy comes in and does whatever he wants. The church I get to minister to isn't a Republican church or a Democrat church. It's just a church of followers of Jesus who happen to be Republican and happen to be Democrat. What that means is, if we are to have true unity in our church, we have to unite over something bigger than our political party. And that thing that's bigger than our political party is Jesus. He's bigger than Republicans and Democrats. He's bigger than who you voted for. He existed before the Republican Party, before the Democrat Party. He existed before America. He is the hope that we have in this country of truly being a United States of America. Why should we be peacemakers? Number 2, because Jesus calls us to be peacemakers. He said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." He didn't say, "Blessed are the troublemakers." You might get what you want being a troublemaker in the short run, but in the long run, you're gonna lose. And then Jesus said, "For they will be called children of God." When you and I choose to be peacemakers in a divided country, we are choosing to do a work that is a God-like work. Number 3, why should we be peacemakers? Because Jesus thought it was so valuable that he was willing to die for it. All right, now, how can we be peacemakers in a practical way in this divided country? Number 1, peacemakers know who the enemy really is. That person who voted differently from you, that you can physically see, is not your enemy. The Bible says that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principles, principalities. I was watching The Social Dilemma on Netflix. On this documentary, they interviewed different people that actually created these social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And some of these people, they've created an algorithm that doesn't care about uniting the United States or uniting churches. Its main concern is to feed you things it thinks you will like, and that will get you stuck on their platform. The other thing they said is that these social media platforms are not like Wikipedia, where people around the world can type in how cars were invented, the history of the bicycle, or whatever, and everyone around the world will be looking at the same thing. Now, I know that 2 people can be looking at the same object and seeing different things, but at least you're staring at the same object. Whereas when you go on to your social media platforms, you are looking at a feed that no one else is looking at, because an algorithm is feeding you content based on your past history of likes and dislikes. And so every single person is looking at a different feed because of the algorithm. That's really important because there are conversations going on right now like, "You voted for that guy? Are you an idiot? Why? Don't you look at the news on Twitter? Don't you look at the news on Facebook?" The truth is, yeah, everyone's looking at Twitter and Facebook, but no one is looking at the exact feed. Just like there's no 2 snowflakes alike, there is no 2 feeds alike. It is really hard to unite America right now when all our feeds are different. And even the news organizations, if you just listen to one news network, you might think that everyone else who's looking at the news is looking at the same news as you. That is not true. Just take masks, for instance. There are news outlets saying they don't do anything. Then there are news outlets saying they help. All right, so think about how hard it is to unite people when our own news is feeding us different headlines. It just isn't helping unity here in America. In 1 second, 6,000 tweets go out. Every second, 6,000 on average. 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. That's just on one social media platform. Facebook has thousands of posts going out every second. Instagram, all right? You have TikTok. You know, and so all this stuff is going out so fast, we don't have enough human eyes to make sure everything that's going out is actually true. We need to really verify and not assume that everything that goes on our feed is actually true. Number two, peacemakers understand that people are more complicated than your political party. There's a guy named Nicodemus who was a Pharisee. When he was around his other Pharisees, they were making fun of Jesus and belittling Jesus, and Jesus wasn't even in the room. And Nicodemus stands up and says, hey, shouldn't we actually get this guy in the room and actually hear his side of the story? And then they pick on Nicodemus. I bring that up to say, here's a Pharisee who doesn't agree with the way they're handling Jesus. He doesn't agree with his own political party. Have you ever been upset with your own political party? I have. And we need to remember that people are way more complicated than the political party that they're a part of. What are you? Republican? Democrat? Oh, okay. I know you're a racist, or I figured you all out. I know all your values. That is not true. I've gone to coffee shops and I wanted to, listen to music. And so I go to pick up my headphones and I get this. And it's frustrating because all I wanted was just my headphones, but I get this mess of other stuff. When it comes to our political parties, don't assume that just because someone votes a certain way or votes for a certain candidate that they agree with all the values in their political party. People are way more complicated than that. Number three, peacemakers are quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. If you want to be a troublemaker, you just reverse it. You're quick to tune people out that you don't agree with. You're quick to get angry, and you're quick to make judgment calls. I like how the Passion Translation says Proverbs 18 verse 17. It says, there are two sides to every story. The first one to speak sounds true. I know this from experience. I have had people come into my life, tell me their side of the story, and I've been like, I totally believe what you're telling me right now. And those people over there, they're bad. And I have done this too many times to find out you need to hear the other side of the story before you start being quick to judge and quick to get angry. A judge needs to hear both sides of the story because there are two stories. So the proverb goes on to say, the first one to speak sounds true until you hear the other side, and they set the record straight. Going back to the Social Dilemma documentary, at the end, the people that helped create these algorithms and these platforms, they give their own 2 cents. Some of them said, hey, when you're on social media, follow people you know you're not going to agree with. That will tell the algorithm to show you some things that it wouldn't usually show you. That's really good because if you only like the things and follow the things that you like, the algorithm is going to put you in a little bubble that's going to be hard for you to grow and develop and understand other people. I have an app on my phone that gives me access to news across the political spectrum. So deliberately follow some people that you know you're going to be challenged by. Number 4, peacemakers do to others what they would want others to do to them. If you don't like when people gloat over their candidate winning, then don't gloat when your candidate wins. If you don't like when other people use bullying tactics or lie or are manipulative, then you don't do it. Just because we're not doing anything bad doesn't mean we're actually fulfilling this commandment. We actually need to actively pursue doing good things to other people that we would want done to us. For instance, don't we all want to be respected? Even though someone disagrees with us, don't we want their respect? Don't we want their kindness? Don't we want them to listen to us when we speak, even though they disagree with us? We need to do those things to other people. You might say, well, Caleb, I don't agree with those people. I passionately disagree with those people. The Bible doesn't say agree with everyone, but it is possible to show love and respect and kindness to people who we disagree with. Jesus died for all sorts of people he disagreed with. My grandparents, they both came from the opposite ends of the political system. One was Democrat, one was Republican. My mom grew up never hearing them fight. And the reason why they were able to love each other, even though they were on opposite sides of the political system, was because something was bigger than their politics. Did they love America? Yes. Did they research who they voted for? Yes. But what was bigger than their politics was Jesus. If you're married to someone who's on the other side of the political party, you can still have a good marriage. You can still work together, but Jesus has to be bigger than your political party. Being a peacemaker has to be your priority. Focusing on what you have in common. Being quick to listen, slow to get angry, slow to speak. I was praying, God, please help help me know how to truly be a peacemaker in this politically divided country. This is the passage that came to mind. Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said, 'Love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends the rain on the righteous and the unrighteous." The next words that I think are so powerful and so relevant, even though they're 2,000 years old. Here it goes. "If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? If you only love those who vote like you, who look like you, who already agree with you, who treat you kind, but you don't love people who vote differently and think differently," he says, "you're not any different than a pagan who doesn't even know God." Hey, if you're kind to me, I'll be kind to you. Jesus is calling us Christians to be peacemakers and to have a love that is bigger than our natural love. The more Christians decide, I'm going to be a peacemaker in Jesus Christ, I will lean on him, I will get my love and my motivation from Jesus, we can do it. Jesus said that the world will know that you're truly his disciples if you have love for one another. And because of Jesus, I have hope for you and I to be peacemakers making a difference in this politically divided country. I will get my love and my motivation from Jesus. We can do it.